Adam Schefter just provided a major update to what he thinks is going to happen in the NFL draft and who might be available for the Giants at number 3. And this is a complete change of mind for Adam Schefter, which is good news for the New York Football Giants. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel, though. We are coming to the end of March, and we've been in a month-long subscriber battle with our NFC East rival channels here at Chat Sports. Chase Sr. and Eagles Now. They're losing to us in the sub battle. And we are dusting Tom Downey and the Cowboys Report, and I want to keep it that way. If you hate the Eagles and you hate the Cowboys and you love Big Blue, hit that sub button and help us out. Yo, what's going on, everybody? You're watching Giants Now by Chat Sports. I am your host, Marshall Green. Let's dive into it. Adam Schefter over the weekend had a huge change in his opinion on what is going to happen at the top of the NFL draft, and it's major news for the Giants. 25 days ago, Adam Schefter said this: "The thing that I feel most comfortable and confident about in the 2025 NFL draft is that the Cleveland Browns are going to draft a quarterback with the number 2 overall pick." He talked about then having to get somebody new in there with Deshaun Watson re-injuring that Achilles tendon. And I had believed for the past couple of weeks that Shedeur Sanders was going to be a Brown at number 2. Mainly because Adam Schefter said this and things that I had heard at the 2025 NFL Scouting Combine. But over the weekend, Adam Schefter was asked, do you think that Shedeur Sanders will be available at number 3 for the Giants? Schefty saying this: "I believe he will be available at 3 for the Giants." And by the way, they don't know that right now because Cleveland holds 2 and Tennessee's at 1. But I think when you talk to people around the league, the sense is that Cleveland would like Cam Ward. I think Cam Ward is going to be the number 1 pick. Unless Cleveland trades up to 1, I don't think it's going to get Cam Ward. In which case, I think Cleveland goes either Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter. And if they go for one of those guys, then that leaves Shedeur Sanders sitting there at number 3 for the New York Giants if that's the direction they want to go. And by the way, the Giants and Shedeur Sanders have been linked up for quite some time. If we go back to December in the Alamo Bowl, wasn't Shedeur Sanders with Giants cleats with him, right? And is there any star player that's any more prepared for the bright lights in the big city, just like Eli Manning was back in the day? Sanders also would have been trained for this city at this time. And so we'll see how this all plays out. We'll see if Aaron Rodgers decides what he wants to do. But it certainly feels like Shedeur Sanders is going to be there at number 3 for the Giants to make a decision on. And that would make a lot of sense. This is quite the shakeup for Schefty. 25 days ago, he said the thing I am most confident about in this draft is that the Cleveland Browns are going to go number 2 overall. Now he is saying that he believes Shedeur Sanders is going to be available at number 3. And it's starting to feel like the national media is coming to a consensus that the first overall pick is going to be Cam Ward, second will be Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter, and 3 will be Shedeur Sanders. Mel Kiper Jr. came out with his most recent mock draft this week. Daniel Jeremiah came out with his most recent mock draft this week. And they both had the same top 4 picks. Cam Ward to the Titans, Abdul Carter to the Browns, Shedeur Sanders to the Giants, and Travis Hunter to the New England Patriots. So that's Adam Schefter, Mel Kiper, and Daniel Jeremiah, all saying that Shedeur is going to be the pick at number 3. And I'm going to listen to those 3 guys. They're pretty tapped in. My guy Matthew Peterson, former Giants Now producer, shout out to Petey. He hosts our Cleveland Browns channel. And he said this on his show recently: local reporters like Mary Kay believe that the Browns are going to select Shedeur Sanders at number 2. While national insiders like Kiper, Schefter, and Daniel Jeremiah lean not quarterback. So maybe that means they don't know, but I'm always going to lean on Adam Schefter in these type of situations. And to be honest with you, I have been pessimistic about Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward being on the board when the Giants are on the clock at number 3. Because one, Schefter told me that was the most confident thing he was that a quarterback would go to. And I think when someone of his caliber says that, you listen. And I also am trying not to get my hopes up and be heartbroken on day one of the NFL draft. I would totally be okay with Shedeur or Cam at number 3. And if you watch this show, you know that. And I'll tell you this much. Shane and Dable, they know that they have to leave the first round, specifically the number 3 overall pick with one of those top 2 quarterbacks. I go back to the day after the season ended. John Mara said he met with the Giants brain trust and Joe Shane and Brian Dable, and they pitched him a plan that Friday, and it won him over. I can tell you this much. That pitch, it did not include not selecting Cam Ward or selecting Shedeur, and it did not include missing out on Matt Stafford and Aaron Rodgers, and it did not include just signing Jameis Winston. It included, what I had been told, a productive veteran quarterback that could play now and mentor a young quarterback, but most importantly, leaving the draft with one of those top 2 guys. Because John Mara, remember he said this? Obviously, the number one issue for us going into the offseason is to find our quarterback of the future. And if your boss tells you you better find the quarterback of the future, you better return with Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders, because you're taking a huge risk if you don't. Jameis was never plan A or B or C for this regime. We could just call a spade on that. They went all in on Matt Stafford. They did everything they could to go out and get Aaron Rodgers. They tried to trade up to the number 1 overall pick. But I do think Jameis and one of those rookie quarterbacks is a plan that John Mara would be happy with. And it sounds like we are back on the Shedeur Sanders smoke train. Daniel Jeremiah is saying this over the weekend. The Giants had a presence at every single Colorado football game this year. They were following Shedeur Sanders around all season long. Now, I wonder what guy told you that Joe Shane and the Giants were present at a lot of Colorado football games this year. That's why you subscribe to the channel. I want to talk more about this quote coming up in a second and what I believe is going to happen in the draft coming up. First, I got to give a major shout out to our proud sponsor, Factor. Shout out to Factor for sponsoring our show. They are kind enough to let us use a promo code of Factor Podcast when you go to factormeals.com/Factor Podcast to give our viewers 50% off your first order and free shipping. So get started today and start to optimize your nutrition in 2025. If you live a busy lifestyle like I do, where you don't always have time to go to the grocery store, where you don't always have time to get in the kitchen and cook up the most healthy meals, and you maybe lean on fast food a little bit too much, get started with Factor. You get to pick your pre-made meals, which are prepped and cooked to perfection. And it takes just 2 minutes to heat them up, eat them, and enjoy them. They've got awesome options like truffle butter filet mignon. The chicken Alfredo pasta is gas. The green chili chicken is really good. I love the Louisiana shrimp, and I'm a big fan of the teriyaki chicken as well. You can get started with Factor. Be like me. Prioritize your health for 2025 and take advantage of the awesome deal. Get 50% off by using the code Factor Podcast at factormeals.com/Factor Podcast. They've got options for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, keto, high protein, and so much more. Check them out. Support the show, support the sponsor. Go to factormeals.com/Factor Podcast and use that code Factor Podcast for 50% off your first order, where terms do apply. We know the Giants have been following around Shedeur Sanders for quite some time. We know that they went to a lot of games. Daniel Jeremiah has now confirmed that. What about at the East-West Shrine Bowl, where Brian Dable was there, Joe Shane was there, the entire Giants front office was there, and it was the dap heard around the world where Brian Dable gave a head nod to Shedeur and said, "Sup?" And it was a crispy dap. One of those was like, damn, that felt good. What about back in the fall this year, where Joe Shane, Brandon Brown, and the other people inside the New York Giants front office took a trip to Boulder, Colorado? Not for a game, but for a practice. Then what about at the Senior Bowl? We saw Joe Shane, Ian Rappaport, and Mike Garafolo chopping it up. And the day after the Senior Bowl, if you remember, Mike Garafolo came out with a report saying the Giants are all in on Shedeur Sanders. I wonder where he heard that from. Maybe from the horse. What about when Shedeur had the Giants cleats on, getting ready for his game, saying, "I'm going number 1." So the Giants had the number 1 pick before they had that huge culture win against the Colts. Felt pretty confident enough to get those shoes made. What about New York City at the Heisman Trophy ceremony, where Travis Hunter was named the Heisman? Malik Neighbors and Shedeur met up in the downtown city streets outside the bodega, and we're throwing the ball around. Not just any ball, a New York Football Giants ball. Now, where did he get that? This trail of smoke with the Giants and Shedeur has been going all off-season long. And I think it's safe to say the smoke is still there. And I know it died down a little bit over the past couple of weeks. Maybe that was by design for the New York Giants. Maybe it got too loud for him. I don't know. All I would say is, I know we're talking about it. We're trying to connect the dots. Let's not forget what we saw last year. The same exact thing with J.J. McCarthy. J.J. says he spent the most time with the Giants before the 2024 NFL Draft. That was prior to the NFL Draft. Remember, the Giants had a private workout with him? They spent Easter Sunday with him in Ann Arbor, Michigan. There was a lot of smoke that if he was on the board when they were on the clock, he was going to be the pick. And then he wasn't. So maybe the Giants are just doing all the homework they can on Shedeur to make the best possible decision. But I do think there is something here, and I think he may be a Giant. I'm pretty confident that if he's on the board, the Giants are on the clock at 3, with the 3rd overall pick, the New York Football Giants are selecting Shedeur Sanders, quarterback, Colorado. If you want that to happen, hit that thumbs up icon for me down in the comment section. And I do think that should be the pick. 1, because I think he's good enough to be a franchise quarterback. 2, the Giants do not have a quarterback. And 3, as I put myself in the seat of Joe Shane, my boss told me I better deliver the franchise quarterback. And he's the best chance you got if Cam Ward is off the board. If you get Rodgers, which it sounds like the Giants are still on him. I know y'all are going to cry, Marshall, stop talking about Rodgers. Stop it, man. Stop it. Hey, when the Giants bow out of the race, I'll stop talking about it. When Albert Breer, Garafolo, and Tom Pelissero all say the signing of Jameis Winston does not take the Giants out of the Aaron Rodgers sweepstakes, I'm still going to talk about it because it's my job. If you get Rodgers, that opens up the door for Travis Hunter. If you have Rodgers, Winston, and Tommy Cullins, you don't have to draft a quarterback with the number 3 overall pick. But if you don't get one of those guys, if you don't get Rodgers, you do got to pull the trigger. And I would be happy with doing so. I am confident that Shedeur can succeed in the NFL. But like 99.9% of rookie quarterbacks, he needs help around him. He needs stability. He needs talent. He needs proper coaching. And he needs to be put on a path for growth and success. We'll see how good Brian Daboll is if the Giants do draft a guy like Shedeur. A guy that I think gets better and better and better every single time he steps onto the football field. I thought he took a huge jump from 2023 to 2024. And I remember Connor Hughes, SNY, Giants and Jets insider, came out with a report that the New York Giants had a full scouting report done on Shedeur last year. And they had him as a 2nd-round grade, and they would have taken him there. Then he ups the completion percentage by 5%, adds 1,000 more yards to his season total, throws 10 more touchdowns. The big-time throw percentage stays the same, but the turnover-worthy play percentage goes down a little bit. Growth, growth, growth. That's what I like to see. But if there's one thing through the tape study, through the deep dive into the analytics that I believe tells me Shedeur can be successful in the NFL, is his ability to slice and dice and throw on time and on target when he is under pressure. I think this is a statistic and a way to evaluate quarterbacks that translate to the NFL. If you're not good under pressure in college, you're not going to be good under pressure in the NFL. And Shedeur, he was the best of the bunch under pressure. A better completion percentage than Cam Ward and Jackson Dart. A better touchdown to interception ratio than Cam Ward and Jackson Dart. And the big-time throws to the turnover-worthy play percentage right on pace with Jackson Dart. I think he is cool, calm, and collected in the pocket. He's tough as nails, and he can stare down the blitz and deliver a seed. This is a guy that was under pressure, guys. 36.1% of his dropbacks. That is so much. He was sacked 98 times over the last 2 years. And as Giants fans, we know they gave up 85 sacks in the 2023 season. And I don't mind adding a quarterback that maybe his superpower is to throw from under pressure. And when he's blitzed, he'll kill you as well. 68.5% completion percentage, 15 touchdowns to 3 INTs. If you're light on the back end, he'll diagnose that, and he'll be able to spray the football all over the field. While I would have liked Aaron Rodgers and Cam Ward, I don't mind settling for Shedeur Sanders and Jameis Winston. Former number 1 overall pick with a number 2 overall pick. A Heisman, I think Jameis won the Heisman. I think he did. I don't remember. I know he won the national championship. And a guy that struggled as a number 1 overall pick. And I think that could help a young guy like Shedeur. Someone that's seen ups, seen down. 5,000 yards, 30 interceptions. And I think a guy that's as much of a gunslinger as Jameis could potentially help a guy like Shedeur, who is really, really smart with taking care of the football. Help with some anticipation and how to throw people open. I think that could help him. My question to you is this. If the NFL draft goes Cam Ward and then Abdul Carter, and the Giants are on the clock at 3, and Shedeur and Travis Hunter are both there, who would you select? Give me the initials of the Colorado Buffalo you want on this football team. And make sure you are following me on social media. I'm on Twitter. I'm on IG at @MarshallGreen_. Hit me up, and let's go Big Blue.